mynews.studio.
18 countries just signed on to the High Seas Treaty in Nice. This could actually change who controls almost half the planet.
Today is July 3rd, 2025. The High Seas Treaty has been in the works for years, but at this week's UN Ocean Conference in France, the momentum felt different. With 18 new countries ratifying, the total's up to 49. Only 11 more, and it becomes binding international law. Is this a real turning point for how we govern the oceans?
It's a big deal. We're talking about a possible shift in how international waters, almost half of Earth's surface, are managed. Until now, most of these waters haven't been regulated. The treaty's main aim is to protect 30% of these high seas by 2030. That's ambitious, but if political will holds, it's within reach. There's urgency because these waters matter for biodiversity, fisheries, and even climate stability.
Why has it taken so long to get here? Is it mostly bureaucracy, or is there more to it?
It's more complicated than just bureaucracy. There are political and economic hurdles. Some countries are worried about limits on their fishing industries, which are crucial for food and jobs. Others see deep-sea mining as a potential source of income and don't want restrictions. And then you have questions of sovereignty. Big players like the US and Russia are wary, saying it's hard to enforce and that they don't want to lose control over what happens far out at sea.
So it's not only about the environment. It's also about national interests, economic futures, and even geopolitics. But with 37 countries now calling for a ban on deep-sea mining, is the environmental argument starting to win out?
It is. At the NICE conference, a large group called for either a halt or a ban on deep-sea mining. The worry is about irreversible harm to marine ecosystems. The science makes it pretty clear. Mining in the deep ocean could damage habitats we barely understand, and these areas are crucial for both biodiversity and for storing carbon.
Let's look at enforcement. The treaty sets up a multi-layered system, right? How's that supposed to work?
Yes, so there'll be a conference of the parties, the COP, much like what we see with climate agreements. This group will oversee decisions and make sure rules get followed. There's also a scientific and technical panel to review the environmental impacts and manage the new marine protected areas. Countries have to file environmental impact assessments for activities that carry risks. Transparency is required, with information sharing, and there's a focus on satellite monitoring and vessel tracking to spot violations.
That sounds thorough, but enforcement at sea is always tough. Can tech like satellite tracking really close those gaps?
It helps, but it's not a complete fix. Satellite data and vessel tracking do make it easier to spot suspicious activity. But actually taking action depends on whether countries have the capacity and the political will. That's why international cooperation and regular compliance checks are so important.
And for countries with fewer resources, how does the treaty handle that?
That's a challenge. Many developing countries don't have the staff or technology to meet all the treaty's demands. They need technical and financial help, and that's something they're asking for before they commit fully. It's one reason some are waiting to ratify.
If the treaty goes into effect and deep-sea mining is permanently banned, who gains and who loses?
Environmentally, everyone gains. Marine ecosystems get protection, which helps fisheries, the climate, and biodiversity. Economically, it's mixed. Some countries and companies lose out on potential mining profits, but healthy oceans support fisheries and tourism, which matter more for many economies. It could also push innovation in finding minerals elsewhere.
So the real question, will the last countries ratify? And if not, what's at risk?
If the treaty stalls, things stay as they are. Patchy rules, continued overuse, and a real risk to ocean health. If it passes, we'd have a global example of shared environmental governance over one of Earth's last unregulated spaces.
And that kind of precedent could matter for more than just the oceans. Any last thoughts?
We're really seeing a test of global cooperation here. If countries can agree to protect something as vast and complex as the high seas, it shows that progress is possible, even on really tough issues.
That's it for today. We've looked at the recent momentum behind the High Seas Treaty, the challenges, and what's at stake for the oceans and beyond.
Thanks for joining us. We'll keep following as the treaty moves closer to reality.
Thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Try it for free.